So I've made a number of mistakes throughout my career. I think the one that is probably most valuable to share is knowing the importance of personal branding. So when I started as an engineer, I spent so much of my time fixated on developing my technical skills. I only thought about getting new certifications, learning new technologies, and just being the best engineer that I could. And I always thought that if I did fantastic work, that would it would be recognized. People would know, and I would have access to new opportunities. And I quickly realized that that's not how the industry works. Yes, the work that you do is important and it's valuable, and you should have the skills to back up the things that you say you can do, of course. But that's not the whole story. Your image, your reputation is just as important as the skills that you have. And I quickly saw that as I progressed in my career, and I started to see people who were not the best engineers or were not the most experienced, attracting new opportunities or being promoted or getting new jobs. And I always started to wonder about what it is that they were doing. And I quickly realized that these individuals had something in common. They all were spending the time in developing their personal brand. And that can be things such as posting regularly on LinkedIn. It can be writing blogs. It can be attending meetups. All of these people were very active in promoting themselves online. And I came to realize that it's not so much about what you know as it is the reputation that you hold. And if people know about you, they have a positive opinion of you, they think that you know these things, then that's like 90% of the battle. Really, it is so much about that. And for me especially, that was really difficult because I don't naturally like boasting about the things that I'm doing. It's not something that I tend to do. So I've had to really spend some time finding a way of developing my reputation, but doing it with honesty. I never want to be, lying about the things that I'm doing. I don't want to be exaggerating. I kind of have to balance that healthy medium of being authentic to who I am, but making sure that I am still promoting myself and still making sure that the things that I'm doing are getting recognized. Because if you're not talking about the things that you're doing, people aren't going to know. And unfortunately, that is the industry we're in. So if I had to recommend anything for new engineers, it's to really spend time thinking about what you want your personal brand to be, and thinking about a way in which you can develop that brand. What is it that you can do to build that brand, to make that brand, and to do it consistently? Because branding isn't something you do once, it has to be something you do consistently. And how is it that you can really make yourself known within the industry? So don't spend all your time just on the technical skills. Spend as much time on your brand. And if you do that, I really think you'll be able to propel your career forward.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I just want to talk about a mistake that I think that we've all brewed in the past, and just to share my own learnings around it. So stay with me here. One thing that I think that I've done that a lot of people have done is not asking for help early enough, and then in turn not asking for help in an effective way. So I was a junior consultant in the early years of my career, and I would be going to different clients to work on some really exciting cloud engineering, DevOps related projects. And I would find that when I just started this role, I would clam up, I would go silent whenever I had an issue or a bug that I couldn't fix, and I'd be deep in the weeds at this time trying to fix it. but I wouldn't be going out and asking for help from my colleagues or from other peers in my team. So by the time the sprint deadline had come along, I would be working towards a really tight deadline, and I would just get myself overwhelmed. And that's not, and I put my hands up to that, that's not good, because you're not showing yourself in the best light, you're not showing progress that you could have made otherwise, and if nothing else, you're doing a disservice to yourself by not collaborating and then learning with others. And that brings me on to what can be a really common second part of that mistake, which is not asking for help in an effective way. So then when we go out and ask other engineers, other people to collaborate and help us with, this could be paired programming, this could be working off your branch together, any kind of collaboration, we're not being streamlined, and we're not debugging in an effective way. So some things that we can do to tackle both of these issues, I'll start with not asking for help early enough. I think one of the biggest things is time boxing the amount of time you're spending on an issue. So say I will spend an hour's effort, say, for this ticket, and if I'm still really stuck in the weeds, then I will go out and ask someone. And that means that you've time boxed it. You're not spending all day, 2-3 days worth of effort and velocity to be able to solve one thing that could have been done really quickly by some collaboration. And then moving on to asking for help more effectively, when we're working on an issue or a bug, one thing I find really handy is noting or jotting down a list of everything I've done to fix that bug so far. So everything I've tried, all the hacks, all the solutions I've approached. And that means that when we go and reach out to someone for some collaboration, they then have an audit trail of what we've done so far, what's not worked, what could have worked, what kind of error codes or messages and logs are we seeing, so we know not to repeat things that might not be right towards that solution. And that means we're streamlining efforts, we're going more quickly, and also it's a knowledge transfer. So by pairing with someone else, by collaborating, you're learning something, they're learning something. So don't feel that you can't ask anyone else around you for help. So yeah, that's something that I've done, I've learned from, and has really helped me elevate the trajectory of my career, and I hope you've learned and resonated from it. Thank you.
Hi, this is 𝗵𝗫_𝘂𝗍𝑎𝑠. I will be sharing a $1,000 mistake that I made with Lambda and CloudTrail. So here's a little bit about my setup. I was using an AWS Lambda function. It was interacting with a resource. I'm going to call it 𝗕𝗶𝘁, and it was configured for 3 retries. So if the Lambda function invocation failed, it would try 3 more times before it eventually it gave up on the execution or the invocation. I used Event Bridge Timer, or what used to be called CloudWatch, to trigger the function on a schedule. Let's say it was triggered every 5 minutes. Then I had defined an IAM policy that was assigned to the function, and this function was allowed to access 𝗕𝗶𝘁 from DynamoDB. And then my company was trying to improve its security posture, so we were using CloudTrail to log security events. The CloudTrail kind of leaves immutable logs, which then you can connect to a SIEM, and the SIEM can then analyze the security events for potential anomalies, issues. So here's where I made my mistake. So I had modified my Lambda function code to talk to a different resource. We're going to call it 𝗕𝗶𝘁. Yet the IAM policy was written to allow read access to 𝗕𝗶𝘁 instead of 𝗕𝗶𝘁. So when I deployed this to a production, every time the function was invoked about every 5 minutes, it tried to access 𝗕𝗶𝘁, but it couldn't because IAM policy allows only for 𝗕𝗶𝘁. It failed, and then the 3 retries, it would try again, log 3 times total, I believe. And then every failure because of a IAM policy was violated resulted in 3 IAM events recorded in CloudTrail. This was, as you can imagine, as this keeps running and running, there's more and more logs being generated in CloudWatch and in CloudTrail for security events. Unfortunately, this resulted in a very expensive bill. It got expensive real fast. It got to about $1,000. This is a hypothetical chart because I can't share the actual bill. But CloudTrail logging is very expensive. It's specifically designed. It's not like CloudWatch logs, which is a lot more cost effective. But CloudWatch logs is not designed to be a security tool. So what are some lessons learned? So one thing is that having structured logging that the Lambda could have put out could have helped caught the issue. If we had good logging and there were errors being thrown, that could have helped us catch it if we were monitoring the logs. That's where observability tools come in. Observability can help you catch a spike in 404s, 500s. You can also parse the logs to look for the term error, and you can see a spike in there. So knowing what your infrastructure is doing, that's where observability comes in handy. Also using AWS budgets to help you catch cost anomalies or your budget being exceeded. So if these are not configured, you will get a surprise bill at the end of the month. But if you configure them, it can send you an email letting you know that it's out of range or it's exceeded your limit. Also, another thing that could have been done is automated testing. If we had good automated testing like end-to-end testing or unit testing, it could have helped catch it in the CI/CD pipeline during the continuous integration part of it. So yeah, the other thing which is not on here is having a SIM, which the SIM could have caught the exceeding number of IAM policy failures. So that's it. I just wanted to share my experience, hopefully help you avoid a similar mistake because it was a very costly one. I am a published author. I have 2 books written, which you can find on Amazon. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Medium. Thank you so much. Take care.